who he's beaten recently is irrelevant for right now. Is he elite? Is he capable of beating Crawford and Spence? Are you actually going to sit there and say that he can beat Terrence Crawford or Errol Spence?
Yes.
All right, Sergio, ESPN.com recently ranked boxing's biggest stars. Near the top of the list was Manny Pacquiao, ranked right behind Canelo Alvarez, and the only welterweight in that group. Sergio, there's a lot of interest in who Pacquiao will face in 2020. We know he's still a big name, but do you see Pacquiao as still being an elite fighter?
Well, he just beat an elite fighter and undefeated champion in Keith Thurman. So if you just beat an elite fighter, that makes you elite. Are you in your prime? Is Pacquiao in his prime and in his prowess behind the foot speed and the hand speed that he had coming up when he was a typhoon? No, he's not in his prime. But yes, he is dangerous and he can give any elite fighter problems. I mean, he's just one of these living legends, this special fighter that you don't get. You know, you get these fighters, once in 20 years. I mean, he's a congressman, soon to be president. This guy can do anything he wants. And in boxing, absolutely. He's still elite, dangerous, and can beat anybody at 147.
Well, I disagree with that. I don't think he's elite at this point. I think there are two fighters at 147 that are elite, Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence, at least the Spence before the injury. And Pacquiao has had opportunities over the last few years to fight both those guys, and he's declined both times. He never wanted to fight Terrence Crawford when he was a stablemate of his with Top Rank. And Spence, if you remember, after Spence beat Mikey Garcia, Pacquiao was standing in the ring, and they were talking about making that fight, and Pacquiao, for whatever reason, didn't want to do it. I think Pacquiao is a cut below elite. Hold on. I think Pacquiao is a cut below elite because I think there are guys he can definitely still compete with. You put him in with Sean Porter, I think he beats Sean Porter. You put him in with Mikey Garcia, great fight, but I make him a favorite against Mikey Garcia. I think Pacquiao, at 41 years old, has to be very selective with who he faces over the remainder of his career because you put him in with Mikey or Porter or any of those other second-tier welterweights, he can definitely either win or be competitive. You put him in with Crawford and Spence, and I'm telling you, Sergio, right now, he is just not on their level.
Chris Mannix, what the hell do you know about elite? Manny Pacquiao has a legendary resume. He's a congressman, for God's sake. He has that. He's a living legend. He's a living legend. And he already beat. Would you consider Keith Thurman an elite fighter before he beat him? Undefeated champion.
I thought
power puncher one time.
Hold on.
He had that eraser that you love so much. Would you have considered Thurman elite?
Well, Sergio, if you studied boxing and knew about, the background of these things, I think that Keith Thurman had lost a step in the time before he fought Pacquiao. I don't think the Keith Thurman we saw against Pacquiao was the Keith Thurman we saw beating Danny Garcia and beating Sean Porter. I think his life had changed. I think he reached kind of the quasi-mountaintop of being the top welterweight in the world. Then he got injured. Then he got married. And I think some of those things took some of the spirit away from him. So no, I don't think Keith Thurman was a true elite at that point in time.
Okay, I agree with you with the spirit and the marriage part. But other than that, you're dead wrong, man. I mean, he has a legendary resume. This guy's a living legend. He's immensely popular. When you have that much popularity, how can you not be elite? Yes, he lost a step, and he's not in his physical prime and prowess, but he's still beating guys. He can still compete with the absolute elite. So if you can compete, you can beat. That's just the way it goes. That's boxing.
All the things you mentioned have nothing to do with Pacquiao being an elite fighter right now. His resume is irrelevant for right now. The fact that he's a senator is irrelevant for right now. Who he's beaten recently is irrelevant for right now. Is he elite? Is he capable of beating Crawford and Spence? Are you actually going to sit there and say that he can beat Terrence Crawford or Errol Spence?
Yes, look at his resume. Look at his resume. You've already counted out Manny Pacquiao so many times against bigger fighters, that you thought were going to annihilate him. I wrote him off when he fought Antonio Margarito. I said, there's no way this little guy beats him. I wrote him off when he fought so many fighters. I'm tired of writing off Manny Pacquiao because I'm always wrong. People are always wrong. You're wrong. Anybody, Las Vegas is wrong. This guy always seems to bring out magic somehow, some way, because he's special. He's a legend. He has something that you and I don't have, and that's greatness inside of him. Every great fighter has a last great fight. This guy seems to have a decade of great fights. He's just that special. And when he beat Keith Thurman, maybe that was his last hurrah. But we can't write him off yet because I thought he was going to lose that fight. I thought he was going to get stopped by one time, and he didn't. He picked up that strap and beat an elite fighter. So do I give him an opportunity to beat Terrence Crawford, pound for pound, maybe the best fighter in the world, or a fighter like Errol Spence? Yes, because he's that special. He's that great. And you, Chris Mannix, know nothing about greatness.
Well, you know nothing about winning in title fights, so let's call it even.
Stop.